Eric, a lone space pilot, intercepts a distress signal from a battered ship in a treacherous asteroid belt. Inside, he finds Leila, a mysterious being with otherworldly features. Thrown into an odyssey of danger, love, and shocking truths, Eric must protect Leila from relentless hunters. Could you sacrifice your principles for the life of another in the vast unknown? If you want to dive into real stories of parallel realities every day, in enigmatic, technological worlds that are completely different from our planet, subscribe to our channel and leave your like. Well, let's go. Eric, a seasoned space pilot with a rugged appearance and a heart forged in the harsh void of the cosmos, was no stranger to the isolation of deep space. His chiseled features and sharp emerald eyes reflected the countless hours spent navigating through the starry abyss. Days melded into nights as he transported cargo between the farthest reaches of the known universe, each journey as monotonous as the last. His only companions were the hum of the ship's engines and the occasional crackles of interstellar static. But one fateful day, his radar picked up a faint distress signal emanating from a treacherous asteroid belt. Compelled by a mixture of curiosity and a deep-seated sense of duty, Eric altered his course, deftly maneuvering through the floating debris with the precision of an expert pilot. His spaceship, the Infinity's Edge, a sleek and nimble craft forged from titanium alloy and retrofitted with the latest in quantum drive technology, responded to his commands with unparalleled agility. The control panels flickered with neon lights, casting an otherworldly glow on Eric's rugged face as he pierced the asteroid field. As the battered and near-destroyed ship came into view, Eric's heart raced with a blend of anticipation and caution. The vessel, a once magnificent cruiser now reduced to a skeletal frame, hung in the void like a ghost ship. Its hull was scorched and pockmarked with the stardust of endless battles. Eric docked the Infinity's Edge with the derelict craft using a magnetic grapple, the metallic clank echoing in the vacuum of space. Upon boarding the derelict vessel, Eric was greeted by an eerie silence permeated only by the faint hum of the life support systems struggling to stay active. The corridor lights flickered sporadically, casting long shadows that danced hauntingly along the walls. Hull breaches had been hastily patched, testament to a desperate attempt at survival. As he ventured deeper into the vessel, the air grew thinner, tinged with the acrid scent of scorched circuits and ionized air. In the heart of the ship, Eric discovered Leila. Unconscious in a state of near-luminescent repose, she exuded an ethereal beauty that defied earthly explanation. Her appearance was otherworldly. Silky strands of silvery hair framed a delicate, almost translucent face dotted with bioluminescent freckles. Her eyes, closed in a state of uneasy slumber, hinted at depths of resilience and sorrow. Eric approached her cautiously, his curiosity tempered by the gravity of the unknown. As he stooped to check her vitals, the faint glow emanating from her skin seemed to pulse in rhythm with his own heartbeat. She was unlike anyone Eric had ever encountered, even in the most remote corners of the galaxy. Her presence raised myriad questions as it set the stage for an extraordinary journey. What had happened to her and her ship? Why did she carry the weight of celestial sorrow in her fragile form? With gentle precision, Eric carried Leila aboard the Infinity's Edge, the ship's automated systems springing to life in preparation for the unknown task ahead. Cloaked in the safety of his vessel, Eric initiated a broad-spectrum analysis of Leila's condition. The medical bay, a haven of advanced diagnostics and healing technologies, enveloped her in a soft hum of machinery while scanning her biometrics. The results confirmed what Eric suspected: she was not entirely human, her physiology a blend of the familiar and the enigmatic. As the ship resumed its steady course, the stars outside the viewport stretched into elongated streaks of light. The journey through hyperspace was both a respite and a prelude to the uncertainties that lay ahead. Eric found himself staring at the readouts of Leila's vitals, a host of questions swirling in his mind. The silence of the void outside was mirrored within his thoughts, a calm before the inevitable storm. Hours turned into days as Eric monitored Leila's progress. His ship maintained a trajectory that kept them away from the prying eyes of any potential threats, yet the solitude that usually brought him comfort now felt heavy with anticipation. The ship's AI, Aurora, offered periodic updates and scans, her voice a soothing contrast to the cold mechanics of space travel. Weeks into their journey, Leila began to stir. Her eyelids fluttered open, revealing a pair of mesmerizing, amethyst-colored eyes. They locked onto Eric's with a mixture of fear, confusion, and a glimmer of recognition. Eric approached her carefully, offering what comfort he could through reassuring words and a gentle presence. As Leila regained consciousness, fragments of her traumatic past started emerging. Through whispered confessions and tearful recollections, she revealed herself to be the last surviving member of a race decimated in a brutal war. Her voice, soft yet resonant, carried the weight of an untold tragedy. The enemy that pursued her, the ones responsible for her people's extinction, were relentless, seeking to exploit the unique and enigmatic abilities that Leila possessed. Eric listened intently, his heart aching with empathy and a newfound protective instinct. The connection between them grew, fueled by shared vulnerability and a deepening sense of purpose. Eric's days of isolated cargo runs were over. He now had a mission that transcended profit and duty. The Infinity's Edge, once a lonely vessel adrift in the sea of stars, became a sanctuary as they plotted their course through the vast and perilous expanse of space. Every leap through hyperspace, every maneuver to outwit potential pursuers, became a dance of survival and trust. Eric's seasoned hands at the helm, coupled with Leila's insights into the patterns of their pursuers, allowed them to stay one step ahead, barely. Yet, the journey was fraught with peril. Their pursuers, shadowy and undeterred, were a constant specter at the edge of their radar. The tension aboard the ship mounted with each passing sector, as the omnipresent threat of being captured loomed over them like a dark cloud. The echoing silence of the Infinity's Edge was only occasionally broken by the sudden alarms and evasive maneuvers needed to shake off their relentless hunters. Within the safe confines of the Infinity's Edge, Leila's presence began to shift the atmosphere. Her resilience in the face of adversity, her quiet strength, and the otherworldly abilities she wielded drew Eric closer to her. The sterile hum of Eric's ship enveloped the recently rescued Leila as she lay on the medical bed. His mind raced, catapulting between the unexpected save and the myriad questions now floating in his thoughts. Eric had crafted a life isolated from deep, emotional entanglements. The countless years as a solitary space pilot had fortified his independence, ceaseless routine blending days into a predictable monotony. Yet here was an enigma, Leila, a stranger whose presence pulsed with both fragility and profound mystery. Tending to her wounds felt almost like a transgression, as if delving into an unknown and forbidden history. As Leila's eyelids fluttered open, the dimmed lighting of Eric's ship reflected off her iridescent skin, casting an ethereal glow in the dimly lit medbay. Her eyes, deep and ageless, darted around before focusing on Eric with a blend of relief and apprehension. As she attempted to sit up, Eric gently restrained her with a soft yet firm hand on her shoulder, signaling that she needed rest. The fragments of her origins started to spill out during bouts of somnolent conversation. Leila recounted glimpses of her people's rich culture, a tapestry woven with threads of peace and profound wisdom. They were known across the galaxies for their unparalleled abilities, not just physical but also cerebral, sentient beings who communicated through empathic waves and shared collective consciousness. All this had collapsed when a marauding army, archaic in its brute force, annihilated her kind in a harrowing war. Those who perished were the lucky ones, Others, like Leila, became fugitives, hunted for the very essence of their abilities and the ancient knowledge they contained. Eric's motives for helping Leila were multifaceted. There was his inherent sense of justice, an unspoken code that had always guided his journey through the cosmos, but now tempered with an unusual personal connection. It wasn't merely the chivalrous desire to save a damsel in distress. It was the realization that her survival, and perhaps the retrieval of what her people once stood for, transcended personal interest. Their survival became a shared purpose, a union forged not by love or friendship but by the dire circumstances that bound them. The initial task was to secure their escape from the shadowy pursuers that now threatened their very existence. These pursuers, cold, calculating entities driven by an insatiable hunger for control, remained an oppressive presence. Their ships, often cloaked in the invisibility rendered by advanced technology, hovered at the periphery of Eric's radar systems, a constant reminder of the peril that shadowed their every move. Eric's ship, though modest, was finely tuned for evasive maneuvers. Each jump required precision, every plotted course demanding calculations that left no room for error. Leila, despite her weakened state, contributed to their survival with a keen intellect and a familiarity with the ancient stellar charts left by her predecessors. Her knowledge opened routes long forgotten, paths that interlaced through nebulas and cosmic phenomena where their enemies' sensors faltered. Their journey through these astral corridors was punctuated by narrow escapes that tested both physical endurance and mental resolve. In one such instance, they navigated through the heart of a dying star's accretion disk, leveraging the plasma storms to mask their presence. The sheer gravitational might seemed to tear at the seams of their reality, but Leila's emerging powers provided a stabilizing shield, a harmonic synchronization with the universe's chaotic energies that baffled Eric's scientific understanding. The time they spent in the close quarters of the ship allowed the melding of their disparate existences. It was a crucible wherein trust was forged. For Eric, the scavengerments, brief, almost unnoticed gestures of compassion from Leila, expanded his understanding of her resilience and determination. For Leila, it revealed Eric's unyielding commitment to a moral compass, unadulterated by the cynicism that plagued many in the far reaches of space. But every moment of reprieve was shadowed by anxiety. The enemy drew closer with each leap, their relentless pursuit driven by motives that were as much about power as they were about the sheer extermination of uniqueness. There was a growing realization between Eric and Leila that their flight was not just a bid for survival, but a pivotal stand against a homogenizing force that sought to extinguish the extraordinary. One fateful encounter in the orbit of a ghost planet, a celestial body long abandoned and considered cursed, nearly sealed their doom. Hostile ships descended upon them, their torpedo bays aglow with lethal intent. Eric executed evasive maneuvers that bordered on suicidal, each twist and turn in the void accompanied by the dread that this might finally be their end. Leila, manifesting the depths of her abilities, projected illusions, phantom ships dancing amidst the stars, confusing the targeting systems of their aggressors. Her display of power was nothing short of awe-inspiring, bending reality and perception to their will. Despite the overwhelming odds, they managed to slip through the grasp of death once more, but it came at a cost. Fuel reserves plummeted, critical systems were damaged, and the fragility of their hope was laid bare. During moments of quiet that followed the chaos, Eric found himself entranced by the enigma that Leila embodied. Her power was formidable, but it was her spirit, unyielding and filled with a tenacity born of survival and loss, that truly captivated him. Each shared silence spoke volumes, each glance cementing an unspoken yet profound understanding. Yet, it was the heavy mantle of uncertainty about their future that loomed larger than ever. The ethical implications of their alliance began to surface in Eric's mind. He grappled with questions about the price of their survival. Was it right to risk so much for one life, even if that life embodied the last vestiges of a lost civilization? Was preserving such uniqueness worth the potential cost to his own existence? The delicate balance between self-preservation and the greater good became a silent dialogue, ever present yet unresolved. It was a paradox where their flight represented a broader resistance against forces that sought to annihilate diversity, stifling the universe's inherent complexity. Leila, too, was not immune to the conundrums. Her gratitude towards Eric was tinged with solemn guilt. She knew the peril she brought into his life. Her reflections were occupied by the weight of her people's legacy and the burden of being a survivor. She bore the knowledge of her race, its wisdom and its suffering, in the depths of her being, and now, it seemed, their continuation relied on an interspecies bond that was as fragile as it was extraordinary. The climax of their ordeal brewed ominously, an inescapable storm on the horizon. Each hyperjump was a calculated risk, a tug-of-war with fate, and a step deeper into unknown territories that could either offer sanctuary or spell their doom. Leila's recovery was nothing short of miraculous. Her once pale and ethereal pallor now radiated a vibrant glow, revealing the strength that lay beneath her delicate exterior. As she regained her vigor, the symbiotic bond between her and Eric blossomed into something indescribably profound. Trust was the foundation, but it quickly morphed into a deeper, more intimate connection that defied the boundaries of their respective species and backgrounds. Their pursuers, relentless and cunning, had employed a variety of tactics to track them through the vast, uncharted territories of space. These adversaries were not merely hunters but sophisticated entities, skilled in the art of war and deception. As they progressed on their harrowing journey, each maneuver felt like a test of their nascent bond, pushing them to the edge of endurance and beyond. One fateful day, the serene silence of space was shattered by an abrupt siren wail that echoed through Eric's ship, the Elysium. The radar, usually filled with the static of interstellar dust, now depicted an ominous fleet of enemy vessels converging on their location. Panic threatened to overcome them, but Leila's newfound resolve kept them anchored. Her alien abilities, previously dormant and underestimated, now hinted at being their ultimate salvation. Within a heartbeat, the Elysium found itself surrounded. Blinding beams pierced through the vacuum, bathing everything in their harsh, unrelenting light. The enemy, cloaked in the darkness of space, revealed itself, and their intent was unmistakably lethal. In the cockpit, Eric's hands danced over the controls, engaging evasive maneuvers with a precision born of instinct and years of solitary navigation. But the enemy was unforgiving, their weapons tearing through shields and hull with devastating consequences. The Elysium shuddered under the barrage, systems flickering and failing in rapid succession. The ship's AI blared warnings of imminent structural collapse. It was a battle against time and inevitability. As systems faltered, Leila tapped into a wellspring of energy that seemed almost otherworldly. Her eyes burned with a fierce luminescence, and her body emanated waves of power that resonated with the ship's failing systems. In the midst of chaos, she became a beacon of hope. With a single, deliberate motion, Leila extended her hand towards the viewport, her fingers splayed wide. The surrounding void shimmered, distorted by the projections of her mind. Illusions formed, fleets of phantom ships materialized and engaged the real enemies. The confusion sowed amongst their pursuers was immediate and absolute. The momentary disarray was all Eric needed. Seizing the opportunity, he executed a desperate series of warp jumps through the periphery of nearby celestial bodies, each jump a calculated risk that brought them closer to freedom or destruction. The Elysium groaned with the exertion, but it held together. The enemy, ensnared in Leila's illusions, trailed off the true path, believing they were still in pursuit. Eric's admiration for Leila's abilities grew, mingling with gratitude and a sense of deepening connection. The intensity of their shared moments forged a bond that transcended the mere need for survival. Each look, each touch seemed charged with unspoken promises and mutual respect. Their fates were intertwined. As they emerged from the final jump into a sector of seemingly empty space, the sensors remained silent. No signs of pursuit. For the first time in weeks, silence enveloped the Elysium asterisk, bringing with it a fragile, tentative peace. Eric exhaled, his body slumping in a rare moment of relaxation. But the quiet was not entirely serene. There was an underlying current of tension, a foreboding sense that the reprieve was only temporary. Leila, too, despite her formidable display of power, seemed preoccupied. Her gaze was distant, as if seeing beyond the present, contemplating the battles yet to come. Their ship, though battered, had held its own. Nevertheless, it required significant repairs, and soon. The journey had taken its toll on both metal and flesh. They needed a safe haven, a place where they could regroup and strategize their next move. Eric's navigational charts revealed an obscure planet within a neighboring star system. It was a small, unremarkable speck on the chart but carried an intriguing footnote: Harvincius, habitability unknown. It was a gamble, but their options were limited. The approach to Harvincius was met with awe-inspiring vistas of swirling nebulae and asteroid fields. As the ship descended through the planet's thick atmosphere, the sight that greeted them was unexpected: a landscape of crystalline structures and bioluminescent flora. The ground seemed to pulse with life, a stark contrast to the sterile void of space. Harvincius, as it turned out, was a mosaic of natural marvels and ancient, alien architecture. Tall spires of glowing crystal rose from the ground, interconnected by a web of shimmering energy that seemed to hum with its own frequency. It was a world untouched by the ravages of war, a sanctuary amidst the chaos of the cosmos. Yet, despite its beauty, there was an eerie stillness, as if the planet itself held its breath, waiting. Eric and Leila moved cautiously, alert to any signs of danger. The ship's sensors detected no immediate threats, but the absence of life forms, save for the flora, set them on edge. They established a temporary base near a towering spire whose surface reflected a myriad of colors. Eric began the arduous task of repairing the Elysium asterisk, scavenging usable parts from its damaged sections. Leila, meanwhile, explored the surrounding area, her senses attuned to the planet's subtle rhythms. During one of her ventures, Leila stumbled upon a subterranean chamber beneath the crystal surface. The chamber was vast, illuminated by an ethereal glow emanating from glyphs etched into the walls. The glyphs, though alien, conveyed a story of conflict and preservation. It was a history of a race that had once thrived here, only to vanish in the face of an unknown catastrophe. As she studied the glyphs, a resonance filled her mind, an echo of memories not her own. It was as if the planet itself was trying to communicate, to share its secrets. The realizations that came were both enlightening and terrifying. Harvincius was a repository of knowledge and power, a potential ally in their fight against their relentless adversaries. Leila's discovery brought a renewed sense of purpose. She relayed the findings to Eric, the urgency and excitement in her voice unmistakable. Understanding the significance, Eric redoubled his efforts to restore their ship. They needed to leave before their enemies deciphered their ruse and caught up with them once more. Days passed in a blur of activity. The Elysium gradually regained its former glory, albeit with scars that spoke of its trials. Eric's brow furrowed as he piloted their vessel through a series of asteroid fields, ever aware of the glowing trails that followed them like predators in the night. Leila, her translucent skin glowing subtly in the dim light of the cockpit, kept her eyes sharp on the radar screen, looking for any signs of their pursuers. The tension between them was palpable, as each knew the immense risks they faced. They had arrived at a distant, mysterious planet, baptized Referum by ancient astronomers. Known only through hushed conversations and fragmented star maps, it held a reputation for being a sanctuary that only the most desperate sought. Eric hoped the planet's treacherous terrain and turbulent atmosphere would be enough to throw their relentless pursuers off their trail. The planet revealed itself in the window of the cockpit, a sphere of swirling, toxic mists and jagged mountain ranges piercing through alien jungles. Eric deftly navigated the descent, the ship rattling under the violent entry into Referum's dense atmosphere. As they breached through the clouds, a landscape of mesmerizing yet hostile beauty unfolded before them, crimson rivers slicing through blackened forests, fluorescent flora emanating an eerie luminescence, and shadows of unseen creatures flitting in the undergrowth. Landing sequence initiated. Eric's voice cut through the tense silence. The ship's legs unfolded, touching down with a shuddering thud on an ash-covered plateau. With a final glance at the radar, Eric announced, "Nothing on our tail." For the moment, Leila exhaled, her fingers curling around the armrests with energy that Eric sensed more than saw. She radiated unease. The same instincts that had kept her alive this long were screaming at her in warning. Her abilities, although formidable, did not make her invincible. They disembarked cautiously, their every step sinking into the soft, volcanic soil. The eerie silence of the planet was broken only by their ragged breaths and the occasional distant rumble of geothermal activity. The alien sky above was painted in shades of violet and green, giving Referum an almost surreal, dreamlike facade. Their brief respite was shattered by a distant whir. The sound was familiar, an enemy reconnaissance drone. Eric's pulse quickened. They had been discovered. "We need to move, now." His command was sharp, slicing through any lingering hope of temporary peace. They took off running, plunging into the thick, luminescent underbrush. The flora closed in around them, almost swaddling them in its otherworldly glow. Leila's ethereal features, reflecting the vivid colors, seemed almost ghostly. Her breath matched the pace of Eric's, her mind racing through their limited options. As they paused to catch their breath, Leila's eyes sparkled with an idea. "We can use the planet's magnetic field," she whispered, her voice hushed but filled with intensity. "It's erratic enough to mask our biosignatures." Eric nodded. He trusted her implicitly. Their shared ordeal had welded an unspoken bond of faith and mutual dependency. They darted through the jungle, following the sporadic pulses of magnetic energy they could feel, even if their instruments could not detect them. Surging through the dense wilderness, they arrived at a towering cliff. Below, a hidden network of caverns beckoned tantalizingly as a potential safe haven. They began their descent down the jagged rock face, their movements calculated, their muscles tense with the constant threat of discovery. As they moved deeper into the planet's bowels, the sounds of geothermic activity grew louder, a booming symphony of nature's raw power. Each metallic clang and groan of tectonic plates shifting below them resonated through their bones, adding to the surreal terror of their flight. The air grew hotter, heavy with the scent of minerals and the distant glow of molten rock. Finally, they reached a cavern large enough to conceal their presence. Within its shadows, the radiance of Leila's skin cast soft, eerie light against the rock walls. The sound of enemy ships landing above ground echoed faintly down to them, a reminder that their pursuers were closing in. There was no way out but down. "We need more time," Leila whispered, her voice trembling with effort as she summoned her powers. The air shimmered around her fingers, and the walls of the cavern seemed to warp and twist, forming an intricate illusion that blended seamlessly with the jagged rock. Her abilities created a safe cocoon, though temporary. Droplets of sweat trickled down her face, her energy visibly draining. Eric placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. "We'll make it through this," he reassured her, although uncertainty gnawed at his heart. Every move they made was fraught with life or death consequences. They were constantly, perilously close to the edge. Their enemies, however, were persistent and resourceful. The first of the search parties began to infiltrate the caverns. Lights from their amorphous, mechanical visors flickered in the distance, casting a cold, mechanical glow against the crimson stone. Shadows of the hunters danced ominously along the walls, black specters prowling with lethal intent. As their enemies drew nearer, Eric and Leila prepared for battle. Eric's hands tightened around the grip of his plasma rifle, his eyes hardening with resolve. They had to buy time, just enough for Leila to recover some strength and unleash another wave of her formidable illusions. The first encounter was swift and brutal. Eric's rifle blasted arcs of searing light across the cavern, while Leila manipulated the environment, disorienting their attackers with phantom echoes and misleading visuals. Yet, despite their efforts, the invaders were relentless, their numbers growing with each passing minute. At a critical juncture, a powerful blast collapsed part of the cavern's ceiling. Rocks and debris fell, blocking some pursuit but also pinning Eric's leg beneath a massive boulder. Leila's face contorted with horror and dread as she knelt beside him, her luminous eyes filled with tears. The pulsating glow of her skin dimmed as she extended every ounce of her willpower to move the obstruction. Failing to free him, Leila had to make a desperate choice. Leave Eric behind or give up their only shot at survival. Go. Eric grunted through clenched teeth, pain searing through his body. You have to. Refusing to leave him to certain death, Leila summoned her last reserves of power. The air rippled with energy as she manipulated the cavern's very structure, forcing the boulder to shift just enough to free Eric's leg. He winced, forcing himself up despite the injury. Supportive yet insistent, Leila helped Eric to his feet. They clung to each other as they staggered toward the deeper recesses of the cavern, driven by an unyielding will to survive. Behind them, their enemies pressed ever closer, undeterred by the collapsing rock and deceptive illusions. On this peaceful planet, nestled amidst the cosmic tapestry of an uncharted galaxy, Eric and Leila began what felt like an endless new chapter. Having journeyed across the stars, they now found themselves on a world untouched by the strife and tragedy that had marked their past. It was a haven, a sanctuary filled with verdant landscapes and an azure sky that seemed to stretch infinitely. Here, isolated from the chaos they had escaped, they could finally breathe freely, their hearts no longer gripped by perpetual fear. Their new life began with the establishment of their home. With technology salvaged from Eric's ship, they erected a dwelling that melded seamlessly with the natural world around them. It was an abode defined by simplicity yet enriched by the profound bond they shared. Sleek yet unassuming, the structure was equipped with advanced systems that tapped into the planet's abundant geothermal energy, ensuring a sustainable and harmonious existence. The mornings here were transcendent. The planet's twin suns cast a golden hue that bathed everything in a warm, gentle light. Eric would often rise early to tend to their modest garden, experimenting with alien flora whose growth defied the challenges of an unfamiliar soil. Each successful sprout was a victory, a testament to their ability to adapt and thrive even in foreign conditions. The array of plants soon became a luscious tapestry of colors and textures, creating a sanctuary not only of peace but of life and growth. Leila, whose own journey of healing was as much emotional as it was physical, spent her days engaging in activities that nourished her ethereal nature. She discovered that the planet had its share of unique life forms, creatures that, unlike their persecutors, posed no threat. Through her affinity with them, she uncovered hidden secrets of the ecosystem. These creatures, varying from bioluminescent insects to majestic, bird-like entities, thrived around their sanctuary, forming an unseen, gentle guardianship over them. Each evening, Under a night sky dusted with the Milky Way, they sat together and watched the celestial ballet above, reminders of the vast universe that had both scarred and united them. Often, they would talk for hours, their conversations wandering through memories of battles narrowly won, the profound beauty they had encountered in unexpected places, and the intricate dance of fate that had brought them together. These reflections served not only to bond them further but to reinforce the invaluable lessons they had gleaned. Eric, ever the stoic pilot turned guardian, found his sense of purpose evolving. Previously a cog in the sprawling machinery of interstellar commerce, he now devoted his expertise to ensuring the continued safety and sustainability of their sanctuary. His days were filled with both hands-on labor and detailed planning, as he fortified their home's defenses, not out of fear, but in measured preparation for the unknown. Leila's unique abilities, the same ones that had once marked her as prey, now became tools of creation and enlightenment. She experimented with her powers in harmony with the environment, learning to manipulate the energy fields of the planet to accelerate the growth of crops or to foster communication with its native species. Her actions were subtly transformative, leading to an ecosystem that flourished under her care. The bond between them, forged in the fires of adversity, only grew stronger. Their partnership transcended mere survival. It blossomed into a union that was both deeply human and profoundly transcendent. In the quiet moments, when the only sounds were the rustling leaves and the distant calls of alien wildlife, Eric and Leila discovered the profound joy of simply being. The traumas of the past became softer echoes, overshadowed by the life they had created together. In time, their sanctuary became a beacon. Travelers lost in the vastness of space occasionally stumbled upon the planet, drawn to it like moths to a flame. Eric and Leila welcomed them, offering solace and respite. These interstellar wayfarers brought with them stories and news, though none ever mentioned the dark pursuers of their past. It was as if that chapter had been sealed away in the annals of a bygone era. Through these interactions, Eric and Leila learned about the varied cultures of the galaxy, each visitor adding a new thread to their growing tapestry of knowledge. With each guest, their home transformed, little by little, into a sanctuary not just for them but for those seeking refuge from the relentless march of time and conflict. Lessons were shared, knowledge exchanged, and slowly, a small community of diverse beings began to form a symbiotic relationship with the planet. Years passed, marked by the steady rhythm of change and continuity. Their sanctuary, once a solitary outpost, had grown into a haven that thrived on unity and shared hope. Eric, gray at the temples but resolute as ever, maintained the vigil over their new world with a quiet pride. Leila, whose beauty seemed untouched by time, continued her otherworldly communion with the planet, her presence a constant source of inspiration. Together, they cultivated a legacy not of fear or conflict but of resilience and harmony. Their lives, once defined by escape and survival, now stood as a testament to the regenerative power of love and trust. The serene nights and vivid days wove a narrative rich with the poetry of renewal and the unyielding belief in a brighter, kinder universe. Eric and Leila's odyssey, though it began with turmoil, had ushered in an era of peace and coherence. The planet, once an uncharted speck in the cosmos, now pulsed with life and promise, a living testament to their journey. The trials they faced, the harrowing escapes, and the sheer force of their will had led them here, to this promised land where hope gleamed eternal. Their story remains a powerful reminder, a cosmic fable etched in the stars, that no matter how insurmountable the challenges, no darkness is absolute, no shadow eternal. Through resilience, unity, and unwavering love, Eric and Leila illuminated their corner of the universe, blazing a trail of hope that would inspire countless others. As the twin suns dipped below the horizon, casting the world in a twilight glow, a profound peace settled over their sanctuary. There, In the heart of their newfound home, Eric and Leila stood hand in hand, gazing at the heavens. They had traversed the unfathomable depths of space and time to find their haven, and in doing so, they proved that even in the vast, indifferent expanse of the cosmos, love could forge a refuge impervious to the ravages of fate, a sanctuary where stars whispered promises of an endless dawn. Their journey had indeed reached a conclusion, a chapter closed, yet brimming with the potential of countless new beginnings. As they looked up at the galaxies shimmering above, Eric and Leila knew that their story, forged in the crucible of adversity and tempered by love, would continue to echo through the ages, a beacon of enduring hope and unyielding courage in the universe's infinite expanse. If you liked this story based on real events, subscribe to our channel and don't forget to like it. Here you can dive into a different reality every day, where anything can happen. Comment below what kind of story you would like to hear here. Thank you very much for your attention. We are the Sci-Fi family.